We're going to take a look at the tools you will use in order to install a heavy-duty DORMA deadbolt. This happens to be a heavy-duty Grade 1 deadbolt that we're going to be working on, and in order to have a successful installation, we have some tools that we're going to need. Now, some of these tools, like this screwdriver, are an absolute need to have. Some of the other tools we'll look at are nice to have, but we don't have to have them. The first thing I want you to notice when you look at a screwdriver, this happens to be a number 2 Phillips bit. You always want to make sure that you take a look at it to make sure that it's nice and crisp and it's not stripped so that we don't damage our screw. It's also important to use a number 2 Phillips when tightening number 2 Phillips screws so that we don't cause any damage to the fastener. So that is our first tool, and that is a need to have. The next thing I like to have with me when I install a lock is some stick wax. This happens to be called Door Ease, but it's just a little tube of stick wax, and I can put a little bit of wax on my screws. When you're putting screws in, whether they go into wood or metal, you want to drill a pilot hole and put a little bit of lubricant onto the threads so that they go in nice and easy and they don't strip the head or the threads of the screw. The next thing that we're going to look at is going to be a marker. This is a rather unique tool. A lot of people involved with installing locks don't know about these. But what we do with this marker is we actually put it into the edge bore of our door prep, slide it all the way in. This allows us to close the door to its normal at rest position, and then we can slide this over, and it will leave a nice little mark on the door frame so that we can drill a hole for our strike plate, and everything will line up perfectly. We don't have to push or pull on our door in order to get our deadbolt to throw. Very, very important. So this is a very handy tool. Quite inexpensive, but a very useful piece. The next thing that we'll look at, another nice to have tool, is a strike marker. This is one right here. It's kind of like a cookie cutter. We can actually slide this one in and tap it with a hammer. And what will happen is the sharp edges will leave a nice outline that then we can use with a 1-inch wide chisel in order to chisel the mortise into the edge of the door. And so this is a very handy tool. It's not intended to cut out the wood. It's intended only to mark the wood and locate where the screws would go. So this is another very nice, useful tool when you're doing a new installation. The next tool that we'll take a look at is going to be a tape measure. 80% of the problems that people have are related to a bad door prep. I always like to be able to check the back set of the door prep. The first thing I check is to make sure that the hole is at 2 3/4 inches, which is what we need for the particular lock we're going to install. The next thing I also like to check is a 2 1/8 inch diameter hole. I also check the edge of the door and look to see that I have a 1-inch wide hole for my deadbolt to fit in. If all of my holes are located properly on the door, the installation will go very smoothly. The next tool that we'll look at is a nice to have, not a need to have. It's a door wedge. Some people will use 2 of these. This happens to be a unique one, but you can use a wood wedge or a rubber wedge. You slide one under each side of the door so that the door does not move around while we're working on it, and it can help to get your installation in fast with less frustration. So these are some of the tools that we will need in order to do a successful installation. Once again, what's required is a screwdriver. The others are very useful to have as well.